Good morning. Let's see. Yep, there we go. All right. Sorry about that. StreamYard is being StreamYard. I'm not sure why I pay as much for it as I do, but it is what it is. So good morning, and obviously today we're going to do some Barbie and the Rockers. I started this one on a previous stream, and the coloring book artist was so kind as to not actually fill in the full crowd and just put some suggestions. So this one took the full 2 hours for me to put some of the crowd in. So hopefully this one will finish in this chunk of time, but I still have a bunch of crowd people to create before we get to the ones they so thoughtfully put in there. And then Barbie herself, of course. So anyway, with that said, if for some reason I do finish this today, I've got a couple extra pages set aside just in case for Barbie and the Rocker. Yeah, she is rightly outstanding. Because yeah, right. Yeah, everybody loves Jim. And also, Mint with Card, as a member, let's welcome you properly.
Bring out the olive! Bring out the olive! Bring out the olive!
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, as always, to Gal Gadot for that rousing performance. Ever so appreciative. Anyway, let's do some coloring. I'm gonna start though with one of the pre-made people. Just to warm. I did not get warm up time this morning because instead of warming up as I would normally do, I fought with StreamYard. So for whatever reason, they tried to schedule this stream for like 1:05 a.m., which is obviously not correct. So I had to go in and figure out why it did that, and then fix it, and then update it, and then he kept trying not to recognize the camera that I used for the page. So I'm going to start exploring different streaming services because at this point I've been fighting with StreamYard regularly for like 6 months now, and everyone I know who uses StreamYard also is having the same sort of issues, and I pay for StreamYard, and it's gotten worse as they raise the price of it, which technically it should be the opposite, where it gets better when you pay more for it, but for some reason the enshittification of all of our services continues. And so I get to do some weird aqua themed eyes. There we go. All right, let's see. What's funny is like Barbie and the Rockers, they had like the feathers and stuff in their hair, but they didn't actually have odd colors in their hair. That was, of course, Gem and the Holograms, right, that did that. I know I've said it before, but I say it every time. It always feels like Barbie and the Rockers is what your grandma thought 80s new wave and punk rock were, whereas, and you know, when you look at the people that were designing Barbie at the time and sort of the demographic of it, you know, like, no offense to those people, but they were very much not hip and of the scene. So I think part of why Gem and the Holograms is, you know, very fondly remembered, and there's a lot of nostalgia for it, whereas Barbie and the Rockers feels way more camp, is because one of them was made by and created by people who were in their 20s and even 30s, but still sort of in the culture of the time. And the rest were a bunch of old people at Mattel who had no clue what the kids were about. So yeah, that's my hot take on it. Okay, let's see. Okay. And we're going to give dude here some blue hair. Just so we can make the crowd a little bit more lively. Make them a little bit more punk rock. There we go. So how is everyone's weekend going? I guess it's the weekend. Mine has been mostly quiet. I spent a lot of time just vegged out on the couch this weekend. And a particularly stressful week, and just decided to not push it too much. I probably should have filmed more stuff this weekend, but I did not. So. And it's okay because I have banked a bunch of videos that I'm just going to release. So a lot of my backup content is going to come in handy so that I can take the week quietly for a little bit. Hello, Stanley. Welcome. Lovely to see you. And since you are a channel member, let's properly welcome
Bring out the olive! Bring out the olive! Bring out the olive!
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
Excellent. Thank you, Stanley. Lovely to see you. And thank you for that. I have another computer and Mr. Chip. Oh, wait, sorry. This is the. I have another page that will probably be in July or August, just based on what I have scheduled already and when I'll be filming again. So pretty soon. Oh my gosh, congratulations, 22. I remember 22. It was a good year. So congratulations. Hopefully your 22 is as good as my 22 was. Nice. June 24th. Well. Okay. Congratulations either way and happy birthday. That is, gosh, 24 days away. That's really close. Where is the year going? It's just flying by. All right, there we go. All right, he seems suitably entertained. Now, let's give him some like bright colors for his collar and his sleeve. I don't know if this is bright, but it's a very vibrant color. All right, let's see. And I'll do black for the rest of his little shirt or jacket, whatever this is supposed to be. We pretend it's a jacket. This is very 80s-esque. Especially because I'm going to go in and add a few accoutrements to it. And now. I'm just using a white paint pen, but I'm going to create the illusion of like either rhinestones or spikes or something, because quite a few of our jackets in the 80s have like studs and rhinestones. There we go. All right, that looks pretty good. Hello, Aaron. Payne's Toy Samples. Lovely to see you. I hope you are having a good day. I think Father's Day is the 17th. And yep, the 17th. And on that day, I am going to be doing, I've got a guest. I've got Johnny from Geek the F Out. And we're going to color some Masters of the Universe. There's going to be a lot of Masters of the Universe in June. And quite a bit of Supergirl. So, because they both have movies. I had a bunch of content sort of planned. Well, I have always got Masters of the Universe content planned. So I've rearranged a bit of it, but I have a couple live streams. Dad at Arms will be here next week for Masters of the Universe. And he got to go to the premiere, so he saw it before the rest. By the time he gets here, the movie will be out. So we are probably going to talk some spoilers next week for Masters of the Universe. We will try to give people a heads up before that happens, though. So if you don't want spoilers, you can mute or check out and come back and watch the stream later. So don't necessarily want to ruin the movie for anyone, but I will want to talk about the movie. So, all right, let's see. All right, let's draw a face right here. Start filling in some more of the crowd. All right, there's some. Give her some bangs, and her hair can be big. All right, there we go. Sort of the problem with the way the artist did, sort of the shadows is it's just not really in proportion with anything. So like, it's one thing I run into often whenever I try to like fill in backgrounds for a lot, especially the Barbie books, is that stuff doesn't always line up well between pictures. I was working on one last week. It's Barbie and the Rockers at a cafe having lunch. And when it was a 2-page spread like this, when I tried to put it together, the umbrellas over their tables didn't actually line up. Because when they made these books, they never imagined a world where like 40 years later, somebody would have digital scans that they print out on nice paper to try to upscale them. So they didn't necessarily, the 2 pages don't necessarily align very well when you try to put them like side by side. So it's frustrating, but it makes sense. Because again, I mean, if you had told me in 1986 that 40 years in the future I would be on the internet, I would have first said, what is the internet? But then I would have kind of just thought, well, that's weird. But here I am. So. I'm going to use what's called black cherry. I'm going to use, which is what I use the sketcher up, but I'm going to use it for more of the hair. I'll give her some punky colors. Then put some pink in there for her hair. All right, here we are. Have a good day. Thank you for popping in. Yes, I did see that, and there's a video from God like last month at the well, no, actually earlier this month. But yeah, I did a flip. So if anyone's wanting to see what's in that book, there's a video, and that's what me and Colt, aka Dad at Arms, will be coloring from next week, and that's what me and Johnny will color out of later in the month. So yeah. Good morning, Brick. Lovely to see you this morning. Welcome. And hello, Leia Glacia. Thank you. Nice to see you all. Yeah, that's the book we'll be coloring from next week when Colt is here. And there's a flip through for anyone curious as to what's in it. It's a nice book. There's a lot of good pages in it. I will say I was slightly disappointed because I have, at this point, I believe I have, except for 2, which are basically sort of like greatest hits books. I have all of the vintage Masters of the Universe coloring books. Either like the actual book, or I have a digital copy that I bought from somebody who scanned their copy and cleaned it up. And there's no new art in that book. It's all adapted from the original coloring book. So like all of it is for me was a repeat. But if you know, and it's on nicer paper though, so it's like you can, it's also much cheaper to get that than it would be to go and try to put a vintage coloring book collection together. So it's, in my opinion, it's, if you want a He-Man coloring book, it's the perfect option, because it's, vintage pages, vintage art, cleaned up and modernized, and it's a much more cost-effective way of getting that art. Some of the pages are sort of, the original versions are available on the internet, from sites that have like free coloring pages. But there's some stuff there that, is not available elsewhere. And some of it, it's funny because some of it, like, I've already done videos on the original art. And so, but yeah, a lot of it does look like they sort of went and saw what was online and what's been popular and picked from that, from the original art. So it's a solid book. I think most outlets right now have it for like, say, $15. So that's a pretty good price for it. It's on nice paper. You wouldn't be able to use alcohol markers on that book without it sort of bleeding through. But if you have watercolor, like Crayola markers would work fine on it. Work much better than they do even on sort of the coloring books we had as kids. So yeah, definitely, it's a solid book if you're looking to pick up a Masters of the Universe coloring book. All right, let's see, what color should we put this lady in? All right, I'm gonna give her a bright green. This is where the next guy comes in, so just When I picked this page, I didn't realize how much drawing I would actually do on it. I don't know if I'm okay with that. I don't really draw a lot anymore on purpose. But here we are. And this is much more on the fly than if I were to sit down to do actual pencil art, so I think it's okay. All right. I think she's done. Yeah, there we go. She looks fine. Having a great time at the Barbie show. You can go on Etsy. The problem is now that we are in the AI age, you have to be really careful that you're not getting AI slop, and there's a lot of it out there. And what kind of sucks about it is a lot of the people selling AI coloring pages, especially like on, say, Etsy, won't disclose that it's AI in the ad. The way you can tell is usually they'll be selling pages for ridiculously cheap. Real artists aren't going to sell you like 50 to 100 coloring pages for like $5. Also, you won't see all the pages, and they tend to pick the best pictures, the best of the AI art that they have, and they also often frame it so that you're not getting a really good up close picture of the art, so that you can't see all the weird things in the background. Because AI still has this weird thing where it'll put extra appenditures or the hands will be weird. But there are people who still do legitimate art that they sell for people to color. There are also a lot of people on Etsy who will, like I do, they'll scan an old book, clean it up, and then they'll sell a PDF file of the original coloring books. And some of my collection is that, because I can't own everything in physical, because where would I put all of that? Could be like sometimes there's a book where there may be only 1 or 2 pages that interest me in the actual book, and spending $20 to $30 for a coloring book, for a vintage coloring book for only 1 or 2 pages is kind of is very disappointing. So yeah, and plus, again, I can't own everything, no matter how much I want to. And even in digital, I've gotten to a point where it's like unless it's something really specific I'm looking for, I don't buy a lot. But yeah, Etsy has, and there are people who do original art on Etsy. There are a couple of people I follow. A couple artists who do original coloring pages. And I go by anytime they drop art. Even if it's not something I'm going to color, just because I support the artists that I like, who do things I like. One of my favorite artists did a Taylor Swift unauthorized coloring book that I bought. I colored a few pages on it. I'm not a huge Swiftie fan though, so like, the main reason I bought it is because I like the artist. And I wanted to support her and her work, especially because, as an adult coloring book artist, she isn't getting as much work now because too many companies are using AI slop. So whenever she does get a project, I do try to tend to go buy the book. Just because that's what you got to do. You got to support the artists that you like. until all this sort of AI nonsense comes to a reasonable place. Because I'm not anti-AI when it comes to, say, dangerous jobs that, when we can figure out how to, use AI to go to places that it's not safe for humans to go for certain things, and that's fine, but I don't want any book or any art made by a computer. And despite what the one hag on the internet said, that doesn't make me some sort of bigot or whatever. It just means, this means I want real art by real artists. And so, my apologies to any AI artists who are offended, but I'm not going to buy AI art when too many people have been put out of business by it. Anyway, with that said. Oh, yeah. Let me know when you do that, Brick. I'm happy to support artists. Also, if you ever consider taking commissions, let me know. I'd be happy to pay you for some custom pages. Yeah, let's talk about that, because there are a couple, there are some, like vintage toy things that I would like to have coloring pages of, but never got stuck in coloring books. So let's chat about that soonish. I need to I have that one Princess of Power coloring 2-page spread that I had chatted with you about collaborating on. So when I circle to you in a week or two about that, let's talk. Yeah, because I would be happy to buy coloring pages from you and commission you to do some stuff. So we'll get you started. All right, let's see. Where is my sepia? There we go. All right, nope. That is too small. It is time to find a replacement for my, let's see, espresso. We use espresso. Not quite as brown as sepia, but it works. Espresso goes a little bit more into the black range, but it's good for creating sort of a face outline. So. There we go. All right, there we are. Oh, wait, I'm no, okay, there we go. It's like it was froze for a second there. Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying to, I'm doing my best. Like, I'm super rusty. Yeah, let's figure it out. Oh, hello, Kenzo. Well, one, you're a channel member, so let's welcome you
Bring out the
properly.
olive! Bring out the olive! Bring out the olive!
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
Excellent. All right, there we go. Welcome, Kenny. And to everyone's question, wondering what Kenzo means by saving him. So let's see, Friday night, Saturday morning, I had a dream, and Kenzo's old job at the mattress store was having this big party, and a bunch of us got invited. And at the end of it, they accidentally locked me and Kenzo in. And part of why we got locked in was I couldn't find my silver lame members only jacket. So we were looking for it. We got locked in. They told us, well, you're just going to have to make your way out through like the basement. And then we got down into the basement. We discovered that the mattress store was doing all of these weird human experiments. And then we ran into the people that defended them. And there was like a killer clown. And they kidnapped Kenny. So I had to go save Kenzo. And of course, in the middle of it, I had to slay all of the defenders of the human experiments. And when I found Kenny, they had put him in this giant water tank that had a big giant monster in it that looked like a giant piranha. And I saved him by throwing the killer, like, of the protectors of the human experiments. There was this evil clown. And that evil clown destroyed my silver lame members only jacket with acid from the flower on his lapel. But I also threw the clown to the mer monster so I could save Kenzo, and we got out. So anyway, one, Kenzo owns me a silver lame members only jacket since it's kind of his fault that it got destroyed by the clown. And then I saved him and the world, because the clown is now monster food. Anyway, don't buy a water bed from that place because we don't know what's in the water that is going to be in the water bed. So that's the thing. Hello, Stu, and welcome. And we'll go ahead and announce it because you sent the announcement out. Next Saturday, I will be over on Stu's channel talking Star Wars with him and Adam from Highly Articulated. So it'll be fun. Yeah, total. That clown was totally a jerk. He was the biggest jerk of all of them as well. So I don't know what that clown's problem was, other than he's just a clown. And you can never really trust a clown. It's like rabbits. You can't trust a rabbit. You can't trust a clown. So I'll cheat the outline a little bit here with this Sharpie. Although Sharpie does not play well with Prismacolor, so I'll do my best. There we go. All right. So, to a pupil. Excellent. All right. Another member of the crowd. See, I've done a lot of green. Let's do some orange for this shirt here. Like some orange would work. It would work that way. It could also work as like sort of a one of those USA Up All Night movies that has been edited for television that you watched when you were 12 and thought it was completely PG-13, and then you finally as an adult see the original R-rated cut and realize it was not safe. But hey. Hello, Tony's Figs. Welcome. Lovely to see you today. Um, we need to figure out when this summer you'll be back so that we can color superheroes and stuff. And there's also superhero movies this summer. Supergirl's coming out. So between you and Chris Plastic, we need to have some superhero talk. Yeah, no, it was a fun dream. I woke up laughing because it was pretty ridiculous, but it was also fun. Like, it was nice to have I actually had funny cinematic dreams last night too. There was last night I had a dream where there was an entire dance troupe. And they were, you know, that Rasputin song, like it's like Europop. Anyway, there was an entire dance troupe dressed like Dutch, like sort of that stereotypical Dutch outfit, like with the wooden shoes and the little hats. And they were dancing to that in the dream at like a community center. And one of the girls was really mad because she had to wear the wooden shoes. And so, but it was a really good performance. Like, I hope they should have saved the community center based on their dancing alone. But who knows? You know, it's hard to tell how these things work. Well, it's not really going to show up on this orange that well, but give him some yellow stripes for his shirt and a yellow collar. There we go. That kind of shows up, but he's also in a crowd, so it's okay that it doesn't show up perfect. All right, let's fill in the space there between him and this person's head. All right, let's see. Okay. Oh yeah, we're getting there. So much crowd. You never realize how much people look alike until you try to draw a crowd. Like, oh, all these people look alike. All right, there we go. And this person's face isn't really showing, so you have to be super detailed. It just needs to kind of look like there's a face back there. Let's see, I've got green hair, I've got pink hair, I've got blue hair, some more green over there, I've got some black hair, I've got this weird blonde hair. So I'm going to do brown. Stick the brunette back here. There we go. And that person is right here. I think they're in a turtleneck. So this person right here, fill that in a little bit with brown, and then all right, here's some dark purple. Excellent. There we go. The suggestion of a person, but not really a person. Oh, he's totally been stomped. Like, well, there's Moby right there. So see, he's about to get crushed as the two sides of the stadium come together in the middle of the great song. So, yeah. Yeah, he is right there in the middle. And look, he's even got like his hands on his hips. Like, he can't believe people are digging this because he's Moby. Moby. And hello, Alex. Uh-oh. Sorry, Andrew.
Bring out the
Alex
off.
is here.
Bring out the off. Bring out the off.
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
Thank you, Gal Gadot, for your hard work. Thank you. Yeah, totally outrageous. Yep. All right, let's see. Yeah, right there. Poor Moby. Poor Moby. I never saw it coming. Alright, for this shirt, I'm gonna go true blue here for sort of, we're gonna make it look kind of like a turtleneck. Just so that not everyone's wearing the same thing. Alright. Now we need to give them a face. Alright, let's see. We'll do some eggshell right in here. Alright. Oh my goodness. Alright. Now we've done that. Alright, we're going to do some more blue hair, but this time I'm going to use a paint pen. Alright, here we go. And after that dries, I'll go in with a darker paint pen. Give it a little bit more. A little more. Yep, that should be darker. Excellent. Go in with the black, give them some eyeliner. And then some red for the lips. Excellent. All right. Yeah, a little bit. He's a little bit skinnier there, but this was when Moby was having his eating disorder issue, so yeah, it was 1986. He wasn't Moby yet. I'm trying to be historically accurate with the Moby. I don't want anyone to say I'm trying to erase Moby's history, because that would be rude. All right, let's see. I'm gonna give this person like a really low cut V-neck. So why? Just because why not? Somebody at this concert would be in a V-neck. It's the law of averages. All right. I'll give her like a bob. I'll use a Sharpie. There we go. Bob in the back. Oh, hello, CJ, and welcome. Also, really quick, yep. A special thanks to CJ for sending me this amazing Star Wars origami book. So I'm gonna learn how to do origami, you guys. And if it's not too much of a mess, maybe I'll make it a video so you guys can see me fall on my face doing something. And also,
Bring out the olive! Bring out the olive! Bring out the olive!
And enough champagne to fill the Nile.
thanks, Gal Gadot. Exactly, Ken. Exactly. More olives. Let's see. So Andrew, if you're at home counting, which you might be still at this point if we haven't chased you off, there are only a few more opportunities this episode for the olives. So you're almost to the end of your suffering. All right, there we go. All right, the blue hair in the back is done. All right, let's see. So we've still got V-neck cleavage lady right here. Let's see. Let's put her in something glitter. All right, there we go. All right, there we go. We've got a collar for her. Just going with one of these glitter pens. And give her some big, weird, fluffy sides. And instead of a V-neck, let's make it square. There we go. All right. Not bad. Not bad as I'm making this all up as I go. So I had no preconceived ideas as to what any of these people were going to be. use, go a little bit green in here. Time to break out another salmon pink. As I use the last of my other one Friday night. Need to get all my stubbies together this week and do a memorial post because I finished off quite a few pencils this weekend. Well, Friday, because again, yesterday I sort of chilled. But still. All right, let's see. Green, so we can give this person blue eyes, a little blue eyeshadow. Excellent. All right. Oh. Hello, Rowdy Riles. Lovely to see you today, Riley. How are you? Oh, right. And also with Riley here, is everyone staying up to date on this bricks and minifigs situation that is happening? Because it has been all over my YouTube. And I watched a bunch of videos about it over the weekend, including like a couple 2-hour videos, which I normally don't. I mean, sometimes when I'm doing a long page, I'll put in like a 2-hour documentary, but I don't normally spend that long on stuff. And I've watched at least 2 1.5 to 2-hour videos about this Lego situation. And it's a little, I mean, like, I think I was in Janessa J's stream last night, and I think the way I said it, it's like, this one has everything. Legos, and I do add the S because I know it makes some people mad when you say Legos, and I live for that. So it's got everything. It's got Legos, corporations stealing things, corrupt police department, preposterous like evil management, and like apparently a very evil Mormon business. So like it's just all the things are there, like that, you know, like it could be like a TV movie of the week in my opinion, based on how crazy and over the top it's getting. Like the corruption and just the sort of corporate malfeasance is also like, I mean, it's very much sort of a microcosm of, I think, where we are right now as a society with big corporations and, you know, sort of the mistreatment by the rich people. But it's been really interesting to just sort of watch it play out. And it's, you know, Star Wars, so like, I'm assuming that's partly why it ended up in my feed, is because I do watch a lot of Star Wars content. I don't tend to watch a lot of Lego content because I don't collect Legos. But I think the Star Wars got it in my feed, but I've engaged with all of it, so it's my own fault that I've gone so deep down the rabbit hole. It's just, I don't know, it fascinates me to like, sometimes how blatant sometimes a company will be without shame, you know, about ripping people off and being immoral and corrupt. So this has been interesting because every so often in a video you'll see somebody sort of slide in and try to defend the corporation. And it's just like there's no you know, like there's so much information out there, and it's like it's really easy to see that, you know, this company is not being scrupulous. I don't know. It's weird to me when I see people defending clearly bad behavior by a company. It's, you know, it's not like, you know, like you know, like if your dad works for the company and your dad is the CEO, I could see like, you know, defending it. But whenever like you have no skin in the game other than maybe you buy Lego, good, good, because like literally, what is the plural of Lego? Legos. There are many of them. Yeah. Well, it is, but it's wrapped around sort of Lego and like this man's $1 million. I mean, people, it's just easier to call it a Lego controversy. So, um, well, hello, Quentin. Lovely to see you. Hello. Yeah, like, and that's what happened. I watched one like little 10-minute video, and that one 10-minute video, and I watched it, and I'm like, well, this can't be the full story. This seems overblown. And then I found like the 2 hour, I think it's only like an hour and a half maybe, by the guy who's like actually sort of, you know, like broke the story, the guy who's like sort of getting arrested for all of this. And it's like, so I watched his video, and then it recommended um other videos with, you know, commentary on it. And even though technically there's no new news, I've been watching it because, you know, like the Bricks and Minifigs company is trying to make it all go away. And they released a press release just for, I mean, not a press release. They sent an email to all of their franchises and their employees saying, don't talk about it. This story will die. It'll go away. And anyone who spends any time on YouTube knows that that's not true. If people keep engaging with the content, it'll just keep pushing it. So I've been engaging with as much of it as I can. Anytime a video pops up in my feed about it, I click it, I watch it, I like it, I try to leave a comment, so that the algorithm keeps pushing it to everyone, so people can at least, even if it's just judging for yourself. But the whole concept of like, oh, well, it'll just go away, it'll blow over, is sort of, rather than doing the right thing, just doesn't sit right by me. Like, to me, when you say that, you're admitting as a corporation that you're definitely sort of in the wrong. Because it's not the phrasing you use whenever, you know, like the public has a story wrong or whatever. So, anyway, I do recommend people at least watch a video about it by I think Riley, you have a couple. I haven't watched them yet, but they're in my queue to watch this evening. But go watch a video by a creator that you follow that is making a video about it, or a creator that you trust. You know, engage with it, because this is part of how you keep corporations, you know, like it's kind of stinks, but like there are a lot of companies who try to pull stuff, and then once they get blasted on social media, they'll go in and fix whatever the issue is. And it stinks, in my opinion, that we're in that place where companies don't care until they get public blowback. But if that's the world they want to live in, then let's give them that world. All right, there we go. All right, we have filled the entire back side. Yeah, right, whatever. No, you don't, Brick. Stop being facetious. uh, All right, let's see. Who's next? All right, I should get some of these people back here. All right, and there's this guy, but I'm gonna just color this person over here because I need a break from making up faces. We're gonna give this guy green hair because they're friends. They rode together to the concert. So let's give him some green hair. What is the dark green? Oh, there it is. There you are. Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like the root of the story is it's not like some sort of shisty collector, like who's been going in, and it's not like a scalper, right? It's not some dude who goes to like the Target and snaps up all the Lego sets before other people can get there. It's a guy like who, with his kid, who's now an adult, like sort of built this collection. It's like worth 200K. And now that the father, like the older guy, the father, like he's having all these health issues, and that 200K would make the difference, right? It's got all of the it's got all these elements. Like there's sort of what happens in modern day America when your health is bad. Like it's expensive to be ill. And this guy actually, like say what like a lot of us bought Power of the Force back in the 90s, like, oh, it's an investment. Of course it wasn't, but the opposite is not necessarily true of Lego. Lego tends to retain value if it's in good shape and complete, or even in package. So like, like if you're going to be one of those weirdos who like considers toys like an investment in your future, Lego is slightly more stable, right? There is a little bit more of a resale value that is retained if your set is mint, sealed, etc. And but that's the thing. And the store that they did this is in Salem, Oregon, so not far from where I used to live. Not that I buy Lego or anything, but sort of my old stomping grounds-ish. So yeah, it's just the whole story, like, there's a lot to it that I think there's a reason people are really latching onto it and to, like going down the rabbit hole, because it has so many elements that I think most people resonate with. So anyway. If anybody wants to go down the rabbit hole and wants a couple really concise short videos to sort of start with, I'm going to assume Riley's videos are short and concise, so check out Riley. Or hit me up and I'll send you what I was sending out like on Friday and Saturday when people were asking me about it. Just sort of the starter, the 101. So you've just heard about the situation video and from there you engage if it interests you. But what I will say is I don't want to say enjoyed, because that's not quite what I have found encouraging about it is seeing all of the people in the comments who are like sort of taking the side of like the guy whose collection it was, right? Often you'll see, and every so often somebody will slip through with, well, what do you expect? Yeah, because there's always those people. But for the most part, I've been pretty impressed that there haven't been a ton of like, what do you expect people? And it's mostly been people who are supportive and like, want this family to get the money that is owed to, or get the Lego back. Like either get the sets back or get the money that's owed to them. Yeah, I don't think anyone's advocating for them to get something that, you know, they don't deserve. It's just like either give them back or give them the value that you appraised it at. So anyway, not very Barbie-esque, and I'm definitely not going to be making a video about it because it's not. Of course, technically, I now have since we've talked about it on the live stream, but whatever. Like, my opinions are my opinions. Everything is alleged. But definitely go check it out for yourself if you have not and make your own opinions. And hopefully they're the right opinion. No, just kidding. I don't think anybody watching and hanging out with me right now would have a radically different opinion than I do on the situation. I could be wrong, but like I know most of you that pop into the chat and say hello. I mean, people who watch and don't chat, different story, but those of you who chat, I feel pretty confident. All of you guys would want what's right to happen, so. Oh, just the Lego. You've heard of the Lego thing, right? Darth Plagueis the Wise, who stole a family's Lego collection and won't give it back. I'll send you some links, Andrew. Oh. Kenny, like, I will reach out because I think I want extras. I may need a few of those, so I'll ping you at some point. Yes, and you know, like that's the thing. Like, Bricks and Minifigs is one of the outlets where people like yourself who wants to sell the collection off would go, and they're being a little untrustworthy right now. It's just not cool. It's not cool, guys. And you know, somebody that like it's not all the franchisees, but when your corporate entity is involved, like that extends to all franchises. So again, you know, make your own decisions, but definitely research it. Definitely go watch some videos. I'll push it in the algorithm. Keep the heat on. Give him do like sort of a pink effect on this jacket. Since it's Barbie, we can get away with a lot of sort of pink in the picture. There we go. That is the pink pencil I was looking for. Oh. And we'll make the liner inside dark. There we go. Excellent. And since the 80s were rife with patterns, give him a little bit of a pattern on his jacket, which is basically just maybe dots. But use sort of this turquoise. There we go. All right, that looks nice. All right, time to tackle another faceless person in the crowd. that right there then. All right, here we go. We have an extra arm here. Oh, I think this arm is supposed to go to Moby down here. Huh. Well, that's not going to work. I think I've got a few minutes to think about that. Again, the coloring book artists of the 80s. It's just not something they really thought about. Okay. Hello, Rhea. Ray, lovely to see you. Thank you, Kenny. Yes, right? Well, see, that is what's funny, though. Like, when people were like, oh, well, the bad hands it has to be AI. It's like, there's a big difference between the way AI does a bad hand and the way people draw a bad hand. And, I've seen people label stuff AI that's, like, it's like, sweetie, that's from like 1990. Like, that's not AI. It's just bad art. Like, that happens. But like, there's also it's really easy to tell the difference. It's like when people are like, "Oh, all AI writing has the M dash." It's like, no, all Gen Xers and Boomers, we all use the M dash because that's how we were taught in our writing classes to write. And that's what all the AI writing was trained on was, like Stephen King and sort of all the great works of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, like when that was how you wrote. And so, okay. All right, now I've finished that guy. Now I can deal with the weird arm situation. When in doubt, I'm just going to go in with the white paint pen. We are going to commit some erasure of the extra hand. If I got it earlier, I could have put like a person back here, but I did not catch that earlier. It's kind of on me. All right, so based on where it is and the way everything's going to work with this paint pen, I need to do a little bit extra here, but this is fixable. All right, there we go. There we go. And then I'll just put some extra people in there. It's going to look a little off because of trying to go over the white paint pen, but it looks less weird than that extra arm just floating there in space. And that's what we're trying to avoid, is the weird extra arm in space. All right. Anyway, let's get back to this person. Into some pinkish purple curly hair. You can say this is Raspberry Tart from Strawberry Shortcake going to her first concert. There we go. So you give her green eyes. And she looks a little bit like a Simpson. Her nose and eyes are a little too close together, but it'll be fine. Instead of Raspberry Tart, we'll just call her Sharpay. There we are. All right. Yeah, anytime I have to go out for more than like an hour or two and deal with the public, it's an ordeal. All right. Okay, very good. Now it's dry. And so we're going to have a person here. Put somebody right there, and we'll give them really big hair. Because that was the 80s. All right, now, just because of the way sort of the white pen reacts with Prismacolor, I'm going to just use a paint pen for this person's skin. All right, there we go. That dry. And since I've already got this out, we'll give them some pretty turquoisey green hair. Make it super big because it is the 80s. All right, go. All right, arm gone. Super dark eyebrows. And again, the Sharpie and these paint pens do not play well. But Let's give her a headband, because that's very 80s. Excellent. All right, that should work. All right, the arm issue mostly resolved. Okay. All right, there's still some of that in there, so we need, I'm gonna need more paint. I'll go a little bit lighter. All right, that should do it. All right, that just needs to dry. All right, while that dries, let's go work on this person down here. Let's start with yellow ochre. I'm going with some beige. All right, there we go. And give her a side ponytail. Well, hello, Todd C. Welcome. Lovely to see you. It has been a while. And hello, Darren. Lovely to see you. Just coloring some Barbie, as one does. I'm filling in the crowd. So, you're getting there. All right, so I've done a lot of sort of lighter colors. I'm going to make this girl in the front, we're going to put her in red. I think that'll help her sort of stand out. She doesn't quite blend in as much. All right, there we go. One red down, and I'm just going to go in with a lighter red, sort of even it out. All right, I'm going to use this orangish brown, pumpkin orange, if you will, to finish her hair. All right, more of the crowd is done. We're getting there. Uh-oh, not Carl. Carl 77, Carl's. Yep, there you go. That'll work. That will work. Oh, Carl. Well, and at this point, Todd McFarlane is finally starting to get his act together, so it makes sense. Now you can be the good Carl instead of the good Todd. So we've got orange hair, no hair, brown, red, green. We'll do that with some colors in it. All right, we have the super dark red. We'll use that for this person. It's like a brownish red. I think this will work. Oh, there we go. Here we go. Oh. Poor camera keeps trying to focus, but there are no faces to focus on. Right. Yeah, no, that's not on purpose. That is, yeah, that is just StreamYard and StreamYard alone. Here we go. If it'll. The problem is like, because of the way StreamYard now takes over my camera, it keeps trying to focus in on a face. Because, yeah, thanks, StreamYard. Because through the camera, everything is actually clear. But StreamYard keeps trying to focus on a person instead of just showing the... Yeah, no, yeah, no. There we go. I finally found a face to focus on. I mean, there's a little bit of a blur to it based on how I'm coloring it, but it's not that blurry. It's just StreamYard being StreamYard. Again, I need to look into other, because I know a couple artists who do like, you know, sort of on-stream art. They don't have this issue, but none of them use StreamYard, so I'm gonna have to spend some time and research to find a different program, because each time they do an upgrade, it just makes it worse, which is incredibly frustrating. Because each time they do an upgrade, it's become way more expensive, and I now feel like I'm paying more money for less stuff. So. Which is never a good feeling. All right. Because this is where we erase the creepy arm. Right? Yeah, I don't. StreamYard, StreamYard, StreamYard. Yeah, and it was fine earlier, and now it's suddenly decided it's not fine, so. But we are 1 hour and 36 minutes in, almost toward the end of stream, so. I'm sure once I start working on Barbie, it'll, if we get to Barbie, if not, when I get back to one of the front faces, it'll probably be fine. So I should do another front person pretty soon anyhow. Because I only have 3 more people to make in the crowd. Yeah, the ray is coming down from the light. Oh my gosh, Todd. We were talking about that earlier. I am very much probably enjoying it too much. I'm probably watching way too much of it, but like it's so hard to look away. But also, the more we watch it, the more the algorithm will push it, and the harder it is for the bricks and minifigs corporate store to push it all under the rug. So, but I will. I don't know if enjoying it is really the right word, but I am watching it. I am participating. I am part. Like watching it and hoping it works out for those people and that they get their collection back. Because I think it's telling though that the company is now like, oh yeah, we'll meet with them. That's all we ever wanted. We just have to actually meet with them. And no cameras. It's like, I don't think you guys realize at this point you're gonna have to deal with this on camera. Otherwise nobody's gonna trust you. You guys have been way too shady about the whole thing already. So but yeah, I have been consuming it. I've been watching it. I don't want to say enjoying it because it is incredibly frustrating to know that there are people out there that are shady like that. And corporations and companies, and apparently even the police in the town where the corporate people live are very shady. So it's all quite discouraging, but I am participating by watching it. So oh my god. I'm completely on the side of what's right. The corporation there is not at all correct. Like, the only people I've seen who've tried to argue that the corporation are wrong are right, I feel like are plants, because there's no, or they're like, well, like they're saying this and the franchisee should have never done the consignment. Well, it's like, but you're overlooking the actual contract that they're showing that says they could do consignment. And when I worked at Blockbuster, I worked for both the franchise store and eventually for corporate. And when you go and take over, like, and I've been on both sides of it when I was at Blockbuster, where I was at a store that a franchise came in and took over, and I was at one that corporate came in and took over. And there very much is an inventory, like, between the franchise and the store, where it's they take over any debt or anything. It's all part of the trade. Like, so any agreements, like whenever in the last store I was at that was taken over by corporate, when they came in, I had been hired by a franchise. I had a specific contract, even though I was technically an hourly worker. Then guaranteed me 40 hours a week plus 5. I was guaranteed 5 hours of overtime, which is not standard. And corporate did not like this at all, for obvious reasons, right? They don't want to have to pay. But I was guaranteed 40 hours a week, 5 hours of overtime. I had health insurance, and which was not something Blockbuster would, purposely only work you 30 hours so they didn't have to do that. They were very unhappy about all of that. But because I had a contract and they were assuming the store, they got my contract. So I had all of those things where there were people who technically outranked me as a manager who had none of that. So like there were many, many weeks where I'd have to fight with the store manager because she kept trying to schedule me only 30 hours. And it's like, you can't do that. My contract says, well, she could have done that, but I got paid 40 hours plus 5-hour overtime regardless of what she scheduled me. And she eventually got in trouble from corporate because they're like, well, you know, Allison's going to get paid what Allison gets paid, whether you schedule her those hours or not. So I ended up not staying there long because it was a big headache. And then went back to the other to the franchise I worked for. They bought a new store in Austin. So I went and worked for them. So it worked out. And last I heard, the evil manager was still working there whenever Blockbuster went out of business. So hopefully she found a new job. But yeah, so, you know, like, so because of that, though, I have, you know, like maybe a little bit more understanding how franchises and corporate stuff is supposed to work. So like it gives me, you know, sort of an extra understanding that like what this corporation is doing when they took over the franchise is completely not standard and not how it's supposed to be. So for what it's worth, you know, and they could fix it really easily by just giving those people the Lego back. But I'm going to assume they don't want to do that because that's pretty significant amount of stock. And it's pretty high profile stock. So, you know, the store that was doing them on commission did advertise for like a year that they had this collection. And a lot of the sales that they got during that time was because of that commission. So, you know, it's when you have something high profile like that, it does drive traffic to your store. So I'm going to assume that's part of it. And, you know, like it's just $200,000 in inventory that you didn't have to pay for is pretty significant. So anyway, corporations, not great. I have no idea what this jacket I'm making is, but we're just going to go with it. I've watched too many Netflix documentaries and true crime to know not to get on a cruise ship to begin with. So, right, yeah, they're equally shady. So, yeah, it's just I feel like it's a really interesting time for like, you know. Yeah, and part of it, I think, is just, you know, the U.S. economy right now is in a really weird place. So I think some of what people are really, especially US-based people, is just sort of where the economy is. It's a really significant time for a corporation to try to steal, you know, $20,000, $200,000 worth of inventory, allegedly, in my opinion. Just in case the algorithm somehow pushes this out to people. I will say we've waited so long into the stream to talk about it that I don't think most people will get past the random Barbie content at the beginning to get to the my very, you know, sort of weak commentary on the situation. There's a reason I'm not a commentary channel. But yeah. There we go. Thank you. Now it's all in focus. And just took the weird proportions of the blue jacket in the back, I guess. Oh no, you're fine. I don't mind talking about it more. Better late than never, as they say. Right? It was mostly just me chatting. Because Brick is ironically, Brick is sort of not 100% on top of it. And I forget, was it? Oh gosh, I forget who brought it up in chat. I apologize, whoever mentioned it first in chat. Let me scroll back up. I want to give you proper props for bringing it up. Let's see. Weird, I can't find the first mention of it. That's odd. It looks like the comment is gone. I wonder if YouTube went in and swiped it out. I do see Mint with Card mentioning it. So maybe I mentioned it first. I apologize. Well, what's funny about that is I saw you tell him that in a chat, and I had sent him a link about it whenever Travis first mentioned it in chat. But Brick doesn't. And I don't mean this in a mean way. Brick has so many chat streams going that like it's really possible for him to miss it until after the fact. So it's not anyway like like Brick is the worst. It's just Brick has a lot going on. All right, let's finish this one guy in the back, and then we only have 3 more faces to make up. But we've only got 11 minutes, so we definitely are not finishing today. But definitely next time I work on this page on a stream, we will finish it because there is not that much left. All right, there we go. All right, let's see. Nope, we've already got a couple pink hairs. Let's do lavender. There we go. Give him some crazy spiky hair. All right, the hair is done. Not that you can tell. Thanks, camera. All right, do this. All right. Let's see. It is 5 till, so this is about as done as it gets today. But it's really close. There's 1, 2, 3 people to create, and then 1, 2, 2 to start, 1 to finish, and then Barbie herself. So definitely be easy to finish this in a future stream. If it'll ever. Yeah, right? Well, you know, spring is here. Right? It'll be interesting to see how that. And plus, the Joe. Are you? I'm assuming you're not coming down to Joe Fest. But there's also Joe Fest coming, so be a good month for GI Joe fans. All right. Anyway, let's wrap this up because the camera is. Thanks, StreamYard. All right. Let's see. All right, coming up tomorrow. Tomorrow is June 1st, so yeah, Joe June starts. I don't have anything Joe tomorrow, but I do have a 1983 A-Team coloring and activity book flip through. Because the Masters of the Universe movie is out this week, I have 3 shorts. We've got Fisto, Tila, and He-Man versus Trapjaw. Friday color and show will be Prince Adam card back. And I took the original vintage card back and I made it a little fancier. Next Sunday, I will be here with Colt, aka Dad at Arms, and we'll be coloring some Masters of the Universe. And Thursday night, there will be a live stream retro cavalcade with myself, Derek Hoover, and Andrew of Gady's Toys. We're going to be talking about our first eBay pickups back in the 90s, early 2000s. But also, obviously, we're going to be talking about the new wave of superpowers that dropped from Entertainment Earth and McFarlane. So we'll get some TWAD talk in there. So all in all, a pretty hectic week. Happy Yo-Jo June to all who celebrate. And everyone go see the Masters of the Universe movie if that's your thing. It looks like it's going to be fun. And I know a couple of people who went to the premiere, and all 3 of the people that I talked to who went to a premiere and saw it had really good things to say about it, even when they weren't on camera. So sounds like it's going to be a good time. So anyway, with that, thank you all for watching. I will see you all in the next one. If you didn't hit the like, go ahead and hit the like. It helps. Anyway, I will. Oh, also, yes, it's also going to be Pride Month. So, happy Pride. So yeah, a lot of stuff in June. Anyway, with all of that said, thank you again for watching. I will see you all in the next one.
I haven't made up my mind yet. Incidentally, which one of you bitches is my mother?